Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I was getting ready for work.
Bye.
It was about 8:50 p.m. I heard a knock at the door,
Hi.
and then all of a sudden he pulls out a gun. And that's when things got real. All I knew then was that the name of the man who had kidnapped me was Vince.
Get over here!
I was scared, but I did not want him to know I was scared.
Go! Get the money!
If Ashley doesn't fight, Ashley dies.
You don't tell a girl that you're just gonna take her back to an RV and rape her and then you're gonna kill her. You just don't say that to a girl. My name is Ashley Ware, and I grew up in Frazee, Minnesota, which is a small town in Lakes Country. Lakes Country is just beautiful in Minnesota. It's like a whole nother world. It's a lifestyle. Everyone just knows each other. It's like we're one big family on the lake.
I always remember the population as being 1,284 people. It's very small, you know everybody. When you walk down the street, Ashley growing up was always very compassionate. She has a warm personality. She's very good at making you feel at home around her. So it didn't surprise me at all when she decided to go on to college and then become an LPN and then an RN.
Hi, Mr. Russell. Are you hungry? Ready for dinner?
I grew up working in the local nursing home in our small town, and I actually grew up working in the kitchen, washing dishes, and I saw how the other nurses' aides would help bring the residents to the table and put their bibs on and help feed them and more hands-on care, and I saw that and I loved that, and I just really wanted to do more for them.
I've got it. Don't worry about it. I got it, okay? No problem.
I've basically worked in the healthcare field my entire life.
How'd you feel if I came back and had dinner with you? How about that?
I love being a nurse, and I love just to help others and to give in any way that I can.
I'll be right back. Coming right back.
In 2008, I was 23 and living in North Fargo in a really cool house. I lived alone with my cat / best friend, and it was great. I was living in the top of the house, so it was made into an apartment.
Yep, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.
I was getting ready for work. I was in full-time school at that time and working. I was working night shifts as an LPN at a little nursing home there. I was in my bathroom, just spraying my hair, and I heard a knock at the door. It was about 8:50 p.m., and that was Schwann's band time. Schwann's is a food delivery service. I was actually excited because it was the Schwann's band, and I was gonna have some time to look through the magazine and pick out some good ice creams or whatever I was gonna get at the time. And it was not the Schwann's band.
Hi. Can I help you?
It was very strange. There was a guy I'd never seen before just standing outside knocking on my door. Growing up in the area that I did, it was not uncommon at all to open your door to anybody who's knocking. You just opened it up. Hey, who are you? What can I do for you? No big deal. Minnesota nice.
Can I help you?
I need a ride.
I'm sorry, have we met?
I'm Mike. My car's in the shop. I need a ride. You gotta give me a ride.
It was really just weird, unexpected. He had a buzz cut, he had a tattoo on his neck, he had a blue hoodie on, just not like someone I had ever seen before.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't even know you and I have to get to work, so.
I need to get to Moorhead.
Look, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but I don't have time to drive you anywhere, so I'm sorry.
He is looking for a ride, which was kind of bizarre, and I told him, I have to go to work, I can't give you a ride, you know, I don't know you. And I didn't really understand, and I looked at him, and then all of a sudden I could tell he was kind of uneasy and had his hands in his pocket of his sweatshirt kind of fumbling around, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a gun and he says, no, you're giving me a ride.
No, you're giving me a ride.
And that's when things got real.
Okay.
Is this real life? Is this happening? This is nuts. He's got a gun. I can't believe this is happening. It was like a scene out of a movie. I almost didn't take it seriously. It was hard to take serious because I'm a Minnesotan. This doesn't happen in Minnesota, you know? It kind of took me a little bit to register what was going on, and I just kind of was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, I just need to find my keys.
Then find them.
We have to find my car keys. And of course, knowing me, I have no idea where my car keys are.
Okay, they might be in my room, so I'm gonna check in there.
2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm scrambling around looking for my keys, but I remember thinking, oh, I wish I had my cell phone on me so I could call 911, but I just didn't have the chance because it was in the other room and he would have seen me.
You know what 2 minutes means?
They're here. They're here. I just don't know where they are. Why don't you check in the kitchen? Maybe they're there, and then we can go.
They better be there.
So here we're both running around my house looking for my keys, and I'm in my bedroom digging around.
All right, you're done.
Okay, I got him. We can go.
Leave everything else.
I just remember walking down the stairs into my car and seeing the lights were on and my landlord downstairs and really wanting to scream or do something to get their attention. It was like almost in slow-mo as I was walking by, seeing them in the window. It just didn't feel like the right time. I felt like that would have really aggravated him and he would have shot me then and there. He looked rough around the edges and like he had been through a lot, had a hard life. Angry.
This side.
He has me get in the car through the passenger side, which was kind of odd. I have to listen to him and I have to give him a ride until I figure something else out. From leaving my house in Fargo, we drove east, basically, into Minnesota. Fargo-Moorhead is technically one big community, even though it's in 2 different states.
going?
Max.
In Moorhead?
Yeah.
He said we are going to Max, behind Max. It was a hardware store. During this whole thing, I was scared, but I did not want him to know I was scared.
Fear is all about power. If you can scare someone, then you feel like you have won. I've spent the past 5 years understanding people in a state of fear. When Ashley didn't allow herself to show Vincent that she was afraid, it's really a sort of subtle manipulation of the other person.
Instead of kind of freezing up and just quiet and scared of the gun, my defense mechanism was, let's try and make this guy feel comfortable, non-threatened. I'm not gonna be that victim that, you know, he needs to worry about. Kind of mindset is what I was thinking and hoping.
So, are you from around here?
No, Bloomington. Careful.
Every traffic light that we hit, it just turned yellow, just as I was driving under it.
Careful. You trying to get us pulled over?
No, I'm just driving like normal.
You're running lights.
No, you can drive through yellows. I promise, I'm driving like I always do.
He, at one point, turned to me and kind of snapped at me and said, "What are you doing? You're gonna get us pulled over." It was weird because he was kind of waving the gun by the window, and I remember thinking, well, he's gonna get us pulled over, not me.
You are the one that's gonna get us pulled over waving that gun around.
You stop at the red, you stop at the yellow, you go at the green.
At this point, I was just trying to focus on how do I get out of this one. Part of being a nurse is knowing how to develop a relationship with your patients. I work in the emergency department, so you see a lot of different things. You see a lot more psych type stuff, and you have to have a certain demeanor to deal with them.
Sorry, are you cold? Do you want me to turn the heat up?
Just drive.
So, Mike, what kind of gun is that? A 9?
22.
I really didn't know much about handguns, but I just wanted to make conversation. I was gonna try to just be real with this guy, and this sounds strange, but make him feel more comfortable and non-threatened, so he maybe just didn't want to kill me. I wanted him to feel like it's all gonna work out smooth until I could figure out what I was gonna do to get out of the situation.
So, what are you doing in this neck of the woods in Fargo?
Just got out of Supermax.
Prison.
Yeah, prison.
What for?
Robbery. Robbed a bakery.
Did you get any donuts?
You know this is a kidnapping, right?
And I was just kind of goofing around with him, and I'm like, well, did you get any donuts? And he didn't find that very funny. He just kind of looked at me.
You may think that she's not taking this seriously because she is cracking jokes, but really she has a goal in mind about how am I going to get myself out of this situation.
I was just talkative, and it just wasn't your average kidnapping.
You think this is a joke?
Mike, I'm sorry.
You think this is a joke? I'm gonna kill some cops tonight. Is that funny? Keep making small talk. And my name's not Mike, it's Vince.
Okay, Vince.
It was at that point when finally he said, my name's not Mike, it's Vince.
I met Vincent DeGidio in my first year in Bloomington. Bloomington is a second-ring suburb of Minneapolis and has a population of about 85,000.
Vincent DeGidio lived in the city of Bloomington all of his life. He grew up there. I've known him since he was about 10 years old. Vincent was kind of a loner, didn't have many friends. I think growing up, it wasn't one of the best family lives for a person to grow up in. DeGidio, as he was growing up, had a number of contacts with the Bloomington Police Department.
All of my contacts with Vince from the time I met him were in some type of enforcement. He was a juvenile delinquent, and he was out past curfew, often involved in crimes. We had seen a pattern of burglaries in the area around his grandfather's home where he was living.
On 1/14 of '99, I set up a surveillance on his grandparents' home and observed him casing homes to maybe possibly burglarize.
Shortly after we were following him, he walked into a strip mall and went into one of the stores there, a bakery. At that time, we figured he was going to get something to eat and continue walking around.
Stay back! Shut up, stay where you are.
Shortly after he went in, he came running out, running down the front of the strip mall, and at that same time, we got a 911 call from the bakery saying that they had just been robbed. I spoke to the store employee after we had taken him into custody. She said that he came in and selected a donut, came up to the register to pay for it and put it down on the counter and produced a $5 bill to pay for it. She opened the register and he tried to reach into the register and take the money, and she slammed the register on his fingers. He then reached in his pocket and pulled out about an 8-inch knife and told her to give him the money. He got about a half a block away and we stopped him. Right when we took him into custody, he said, "I give up, you got me."
We arrested him and recovered a dagger from his coat pocket along with the cash from the cash register. When I asked him about the dagger, he said the dagger was actually given to him when he was younger by his father.
Vincent was sentenced to 9 years for committing the robbery and those burglaries. After Vincent had been in prison for a while, we received notification that he had threatened to kill the detectives that were responsible for putting him in prison.
So what about you, Vincent? What's the plan after this?
I don't care.
You don't care what happens to you after you serve your sentence?
Nah, I don't care. I really only care about finding the officers who put me in here and shooting them in the head.
I think Vincent was capable of doing about anything that he set his mind to. If he was going to hurt somebody, he could certainly be capable of carrying that out.
Crime is pretty stable in the Fargo-Moorhead area. We get, maybe 1 or 2 robberies that are legitimate every year.
Can I help you?
Answering the door is second nature in our community. There's still a lot of people who live in that community who don't lock their doors at night. So for her to get a knock at the door and answer the door and have a conversation with the person, there's no red flags to that.
I'm sorry, have we met?
I'm Mike. My car's in the shop. I need a ride. You gotta give me a ride.
Where we grow up has a huge impact on how we live our lives as adults. If you've never had an experience that would tell you that it's not safe to open a door to a stranger, then you have no reason to think that that would be a bad idea.
I was trying to just keep the mood light and like it was not a big deal. This really wasn't a kidnapping, and almost so I could maybe convince him. I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't, as a defense mechanism.
Pull in here.
Finally, we get to Max, and I didn't know why he wanted to go there. The whole trip in the car probably took about 10 to 15 minutes. And I pulled into the parking lot, and I honestly thought that I was gonna be done at that point. I thought that I was gonna drop him off and I was gonna go to work, and that was the end of it.
Okay, well, you're here.
Turn the car off.
Look, you gotta go. I have to get to work.
He kind of looked at me and he's like, "You're coming with me, you're coming with me." And I said, "Well, I can't, I gotta go to work. You gotta go." And he's like, "No, you're coming with me." And he took my keys.
I'm a nurse and I can't be late for work, so don't worry, I won't say anything. It'll be fine.
No, you're coming with me. Turn off the headlights. This side.
Where are we going?
RV,
Why?
because that's where I'm gonna rape you. And then I'm gonna kill you.
He said, "I'm going to rape you and then I'm going to kill you."
Vince, you don't want to do this. Please don't do this.
And I was just following him saying, "Are you sure you want to rape and kill me? Are you sure about that? Come on, let's just go back. I got to go to work." I just kept kind of trying to bug him so maybe he would change his own mind.
Vince, come on. You don't really want to do this, do you? Please don't do this. Vince, look, this isn't really what you want, is it?
Shut Shut up.
Please, Vince. You don't really want to do this, do you?
Go.
Well, look, I don't even know where we're going, and it's really dark, so maybe you should go first.
I remember saying, you know what, I don't really want to go first. It's dark. You're the guy. You go first, because I can't see anything, and you've been here more than me. So why don't you go first? Hoping he'd fall for it. Thank God he did. There was a gate, and you could close it and lock the latch. And I remember thinking, that's not good, because I want it to be easily accessible so I can swing it open and run when the time comes right.
Just forget it. I mean, if you're gonna do this, let's just go.
Yeah, it's fine.
At that point, he didn't feel threatened, and he didn't think I was gonna run because of the way I had been treating him in the car, which was my goal. Because I had just been so kind of nonchalant with him and calm and asking him all these questions, I think he just assumed that I wasn't gonna run. So he was actually walking like 3 feet in front of me. It's not like he was dragging me like, you know, a scene out of a movie. So then I started slowing down and waited for him to get in front of me, slower and slower. I remember looking up at the sky, and I remember praying. I said, Lord Jesus, you tell me what to do and when, and I'll do it. You don't tell a girl that you're just gonna take her back to an RV and rape her and then you're gonna kill her. You just don't say that to a girl. I am now running on the open property next to the Max hardware store towards the main road, running like back and forth in zigzags. Because I figured, well, he's probably going to shoot me now, and just kind of clenching my body, just kind of waiting for it, feeling like, oh, this is going to hurt because he's probably going to shoot me. This is really going to hurt. Hopefully he'll miss because I'm running in zigzags. And I see a car there. I think it was an SUV with 2 men in it, and I was excited because I thought that this was finally over and they were going to help me get out of the situation.
Help me! Help me! Help me! No, wait! Wait! Help me! Help me!
They saw me and they wouldn't let me in the car, and I made signals with my hand. I made a gun signal, and I was banging on the windows, and I said, he's got a gun, help me. And they looked at me, and they gave me just a weird look, almost like a creepy smile, and they drove away.
No!
I couldn't believe that they drove away. Like, how could you drive away when a girl is running up to you? They saw the situation, they saw him. I was mad. At that point, it felt like I was starting all over again. I'm looking around, trying to figure out what to do next, and I see the business next door. And there was a light still on. So, I run. And literally probably get 10 feet, not very far, and he catches up with me. And he kind of grabs me, and he is ticked.
Why did you run?
Stop it!
Why did you run? Why did you run?
He puts the gun to my right side and he's pushing in. He asked me, why did you run? Why are you running? And I said, because you just told me you're gonna rape and kill me.
Don't shoot me! We're going back! No! Go or I shoot you! No! Right here!
He said, we're going back to the RV, we're going back to the RV. And I was like, I don't think so. He's like, well, and I'm gonna shoot you right here.
They'll find me. They'll find my blood all over your fingerprints are all over.
I was trying to figure out in my head what to do next, and so I needed time to think, what do I do from here? So I pretended I was having an asthma attack. I could pretend that I was trying to get better breaths, and so then I could look around and have a better view of lit up areas just to make sure maybe I had some other options, if there's anything closer. So I'm there pretending I can't breathe, huffing and puffing it. At one point, I think I even asked him, I said, you don't happen to have an inhaler on you, do you? I'm having an asthma attack. You gotta help me, Vince, I'm having an asthma attack. He was kind of flustered. He didn't really have like a good grasp on me. I had no other choice. I just ran. I was not going to let Vince rape and kill me. Not gonna happen.
Vince DeGidio is my cousin. When I was younger, we would always get together. Vince was always just a little mischievous. You know, he wasn't real bad at first. But after he got out of jail from the bakery incident, he didn't have anywhere to go. Vince's sister, Sarah, she said, well, you can come up and live with me. In Fargo, they never had what I would consider an easy time. They really raised each other, Sarah and Vince did. They were in an abusive household with drug addicts and criminals and alcoholics. They never had what I would consider a normal situation. I never saw him as really violent. I saw him as a little troublemaker, but somewhere along the line, Vince became violent.
I believe that he started escalating in his crimes because he had no good family life. And I think he wanted to make a name for himself and also to show that he was tough.
He had threatened to kill the detectives that were responsible for putting him in prison.
I'm not scared to kill a cop. I'll kill any cop on the street, anyone who steps up.
And he said if he couldn't find them, that he would look for other officers and get in a shootout with them. If he couldn't find another officer to kill, he would take hostages and start killing the hostages until the police got there and he could shoot it out with the police.
I'm no coward. Or maybe I go to a grocery store, line everybody up. Bam, bam. Then they'll come, and they can try me. I don't care if I get shot. I hope they shoot me.
He wanted to die, and he wanted the police to shoot him.
A couple weeks after he had moved in with his sister, Vincent had apparently entered a North Dakota State University building near downtown. An employee had walked into the bathroom and found Vincent holding what appeared to be a handgun. The employee then contacted Fargo police. They arrested him, and that made me actually feel like maybe he would do something else. After what happened in the Fargo-Moorhead area, I came to realize that he wasn't just talking, that he actually did what he said he was going to do.
Where are we going?
RV.
Why?
Because that's where I'm gonna rape you. And then I'm gonna kill you.
Every time Vince kept saying he was gonna rape and kill me, I just knew in my mind that wasn't happening. And I had security in myself knowing that. And as opportunities opened up, I just decided to take them.
Not everyone would have reacted as Ashley did. While the threat response is universal, it is very individualized. Ashley had a very kind of efficient threat response. One that allowed her to maintain a rational, logical thought process so that she was able to feel strong and fight.
My inhaler.
What?
In this situation, she just at one point decided, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die fighting.
Finally, I make it to the front door of the auto parts store, and I'm banging on the door. I'm like, you gotta let me in. Please just let me in. I need help. And they kind of opened the door up just a little bit and just kind of shoved it and ran past him. I was running towards the back of the store looking for an exit door. And of course, no exit door.
Get over here!
When I came back from running and looking for an exit door, he had those two men now up at gunpoint, and now their lives were in jeopardy.
Stand right where you are. Stand right over here. Where's your money?
It's in the back.
Go get it.
Go! Get the money!
Help him. Help him. Stand right here.
It was almost like he just last minute he decided to rob the store, so then he kind of shuttled the employees into the front
Hurry up!
room by the front desk and demanded money.
Get it back.
Give me the bag! Hurry up!
Keep bringing it. Bring the rest.
I trusted God. If I prayed, I just knew somehow I'd get out of it. And so I prayed.
What is
Digidio saw an opportunity to commit robbery while he's there. Now remember, Ashley knows that not only her life is in danger, but the lives of the auto parts store workers are in danger.
Just get the rest of it.
Anytime you put somebody in prison, you always have to worry about when they get out, are they going to take some type of revenge? On the day he was going to be released, the caseworker told me that Vincent told him he was going to move to Moorhead, Minnesota, to live with his sister who had moved there. Because I had worked in Fargo, North Dakota, which is across the river from Moorhead, I felt obligated to at least contact the Moorhead Police Department to just give them a little history on Vincent. He stated the reason he was going to die is because at the time of his release, he was going to start shooting cops, as many as he could. He also stated that if he couldn't find any cops, he was going to rob a store, hold people hostage, and kill them one at a time until the SWAT team killed him. He said that it was an honorable way to die by getting killed by the police, and that it was a cowardly way if he committed suicide. Approximately a month later, I hear some news about a kidnapping, and that a woman was abducted, taken to Moorhead, Minnesota. I wonder if it could have been Vincent DeGidio.
Keep bringing it.
So while they're getting the money and he's robbing them at gunpoint, I'm standing next to him, looking around for something to hit him over the head with. There's sample stands all over the store, and the one sample stand that I need with a wrench or something to hit him over the head with is at the front of the store. And the sample stand right next to us had like long plastic piping, and you know, what good is that? That can't help me. So I literally had no weapon. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And he's kind of crouched down, putting the money in a bag, and I remember thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna kick the gun out of his hand then. The gun did not go very far at all. He got a hold of the gun again, and he was gonna kill all of us. And at that point, it's like, okay, either stand there and get shot, or at least, you know, try to get away and then get shot.
Coming up.
He's trying to turn the gun towards my face to shoot me.
It's almost like he wanted to be involved in a police shooting.
In this line of work, you gotta be prepared for the worst at a moment's notice.
Is it DeGidio?
I think for Vince, having a gun was his security blanket. I think that, like a lot of criminals, hid behind the gun and he was insecure. Once he realized that gun wasn't gonna keep me from trying to live, he suddenly kind of got insecure and didn't really know what he was doing. While I was fighting with Vince, the two male employees called 911.
Call the police.
Grab the gun! Help! Something popped into my mind that I remembered when I was a little girl. My older brother, Bricker, one of his best friends, came over, and he was in the Army, and he taught me a move. He said, whenever anyone is trying to hurt you, you apply pressure under their nose and push really hard. That is a very painful thing. I don't know why I remember that, but I did it, and it worked. It worked great. My main concern was that gun and keeping the barrel away from my face. So while we're fighting and hitting, I saw the barrel turn towards my face, dead on. My eyes were looking into the barrel, and I remember thinking, he's trying to turn the gun towards my face to shoot me, and I see the barrel, and so I keep just turning the barrel away, and we just keep fighting.
Ashley and Vincent DeGidio were now in an active fight, punching and kicking each other. I think Ashley Ware was getting the best of Vincent DeGidio, where Vincent DeGidio probably bit off more than he could chew, if you will.
I think Vince was probably thinking, well, I picked the wrong girl to kidnap tonight.
Help me!
Hello?
911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hey, come to 2303 Highway 10 East. We're getting robbed.
Hey, what do you mean by robbed?
Guy in here with a gun.
Does he know that you're calling?
No, I'm putting the phone down so he doesn't. Can you come here quick, please? We have a woman in here, too.
A woman and a man?
They came in here together.
Who had the gun, the man or the woman?
The man. I wasn't able to tell if there's any injuries there.
2008, I would have been a lieutenant with the Moorhead Police Department, a shift commander. At the time this incident went down, I was in charge of the evening shift, which runs from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. It was just a routine day for me, just a doldrum day. And then everything erupted at about 9:15. The initial call came out of a robbery And when the call came out, it came out in a location close to where I was. I was on the north side of Moorhead. The auto parts store is on the Highway 10 corridor, which divides the north from the south in the city of Moorhead. I am about 1.5 miles from the scene. Anytime we have a significant crime like that, it's everybody's going. Who's ever the closest will get there first and secure the scene.
I hop in my unmarked squad and start heading out, and I didn't know all the details. I literally only had a minute or two conversation about we got an armed robbery.
As we're responding, we're also getting updates from dispatch that there was a kidnapping involved. And my mind starts to run. I'm wondering, did he kidnap somebody from the store as he's doing this robbery? Or was there a kidnapping prior to and a robbery is happening as part of another crime?
Grab it! Grab his gun!
Ashley knew that this was going to be a fight for her life based on what she'd already been told. He had told Ashley that he was going to rape and kill her. The two guys that were in the store, their idea of helping was calling 911, which needed to be done. I'm sure they were in fear of their own lives and what's happening. They don't have the preliminary information of what Ashley already knew. To them, they see a robbery happening, and I'm sure they have protocols and training through their employer of how they're supposed to handle that.
Help! Grab the gun!
These guys don't get put in those situations every day.
So as I'm looking down the barrel of the gun, I'm thinking, wow, this is very real. Vince could blow my head off right now.
He has no regard for human life, Vincent Egidio. He's shown that, he's said that. In my estimation, I believe that if Ashley doesn't fight, Ashley dies. So when you get a victim who refuses to be a victim, makes the job a lot easier. And in this situation, she fought, bought time, sweet, precious time.
Everything just went so fast, no one came, and all of a sudden he pistol whipped me. And I went black. Then I heard the ding of the front doorbell.
Vincent Egidio knew that pretty soon the police were going to be there, and the odds were going to swing dramatically in Ashley's favor. And he bolted, he ran. People like him, and they're the reason I became a police officer. I wanted to protect my community from people like him.
Once Vince left the store, and I am left there tending to my wound, physically I had no pain. Physically, I wasn't hurting anywhere, but even internally, I didn't feel anything. I think I just was, maybe it was shock. I just remember thinking, did that just happen? Did that whole ordeal just go down? It wasn't too long after that the police showed up.
Okay, guys, we got a crime scene to secure. I want each of you to take us out of the building and tape it off. Let's go.
I can overhear radio traffic from the officers that are already on the scene, the initial responding patrol officers. I get there probably about 20 minutes after the 911 call and just kind of start my basic investigation from there, the processing, if you will. There's a couple patrol officers already on scene. I walked in and she was inside. I remember she was sitting on the floor, kind of her back against the counter, just kind of resting. And I think she was a little bit shocked, just kind of realizing what had all taken place.
Yes. I'm Detective Nelson. I know you've had a rough night, but I need to ask you some questions.
Ashley was bleeding from her head. She had some large lacerations above her right eye, all the way up to her scalp line. She had very large goose egg on the left side of her scalp.
When I first looked at Ashley and she looked at me, and I introduced myself to her and said, you're gonna be okay, and we're getting you an ambulance here, and we'll talk in a little bit. She was kind of gazing, kind of through me. But I think she was still trying to process that, her life could have ended that night.
All I knew then was that the name of the man who had kidnapped me was Vince. He never gave me a last name.
He's a little taller than me, and he has brown hair, buzz cut.
It was so surreal. I tried my best to give a good description, a detailed description of him and where I thought he might have gone.
And he has this tattoo on his neck, someone's name.
I visit with her literally just for a couple minutes, and she tells me that she was at her apartment in Fargo. This person had kidnapped her at gunpoint and made her drive to Max Hardware. She believed his name was Vince or Vincent.
He was wearing a blue sweatshirt and baggy pants.
One of the detectives, as soon as he learned that Vincent was getting out of prison soon and going to be living in the Fargo-Moorhead area, he made a call to the police force up there and let them know Vincent's history and the threats that he had made.
I'm not scared to kill a cop. I'll kill any cop on the street, anyone who steps up.
So there was an officer in Fargo that was able to make a connection that the person that we were looking for might be Vincent DeGidio.
Once we know who the suspect is, we're on a manhunt.
Okay, here's what we've got. Suspect's full name is Vincent DeGidio. Lives with his sister Sarah in the apartments on 8th. Officers are en route.
We got a violent criminal who's armed. We want SWAT to come in, and we're gonna handle this as safely as possible.
Let's be ready for anything. All right, let's go.
Perimeters are extremely important to every violent crime scene. It's that imaginary circle around the crime scene. And it's the area in which you believe the suspect still will be in. Based on when he left and the direction that he left, we wanted at least, 3-4 blocks completely encircling the auto parts store as a perimeter. The canine handler decides that he wants to conduct a track. When we realized that our canine track was unsuccessful, we went to a moving perimeter. And as soon as we established that Vincent DeGidio lived at 3500 8th Avenue South, we created a new perimeter around the apartment building.
The kids are sleeping. What the hell is wrong with you?
Take this.
Vince, why do you have a gun? Vince?
I gotta go.
What? Vince, what did you do?
From the auto parts store, Vince managed to get back to Sarah's, ran up into their apartment, opened the door. Sarah told me that she was just sitting there watching TV when Vince barges in the door and throws a sack of money. And she's thinking, what's going on? Oh my God. Vince had said previously that it was his goal to commit suicide by cop. Sarah knew that it was a big deal. It was definitely a big deal. Somebody might end up hurt or dead, or maybe already has.
It's an easy perimeter if you know they're in their apartment building. Just circle the apartment building. But then you have the heavy task of evacuating everybody inside. because you don't want anybody else in harm's way. And that's what we were about to do.
3835. This is Deputy Carey. Just arrived at 3500 8th Avenue South. I'm gonna check the premises for the suspect. Vincent Digidio!
Once I heard Vince leave the store, I knew it was over for me and felt a sense of relief, but I knew it wasn't over for him, and they had to catch him. I had no idea what went on after he left the auto parts store, and at that point, I had no choice. I was rushed into an ambulance. They asked me a few questions and told me they were going to find Vince.
Vincent Digidio! Shots fired! Shots fired! Central!
This was a high-stress and dangerous situation. We have to have the help of everybody around us. So we had Dilworth Police, the Clay County Sheriff's Office, and the Minnesota State Patrol, all willing to help out with this investigation. One of the people from the Clay County Sheriff's Department was my nephew, Ryan. Ryan called out shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Central!
My heart sank when I heard his voice on the radio. It became evident that this is the man we were looking for. You always get a little skip in the heartbeat when you hear shots fired. But when it's your nephew calling it out, and you can tell in his voice that he's in peril, I was worried.
Got him outside the apartment on the south side.
Jeez.
I took off from the auto parts store, and it's not that far from the auto parts store to Vincent Digidio's apartment. And as I get out, there's still shots being fired. Probably 40 minutes to 45 minutes after our initial call, when Deputy Ryan Carey engaged Digidio at his apartment.
In this line of work, you got to be prepared for the worst at a moment's notice. You're always prepared for that life or death situation, and it was very imminent that there was a life or death situation that was about to come to head, knowing that we were going to catch up with him, and either he's going to give up and everything's going to be fine, or he's going to take shots.
It's dark. Of course, they have their parking lot lights on and stuff like that to assist us, but it's dark. I didn't know where the shooters were at. Didn't know who was shooting. Is it the bad guy, or is it the good guys? Ryan, he's also not only my nephew, he's one of my best friends. I'm scared for him. I know he's engaged in a firefight, but I believe in Ryan. I think he's gonna win.
Are you out with him? No, he's behind the truck. And I'm staged on the left side. 10-4.
The whole time I'm listening to him with his radio communications, he continued to engage in a gun battle. If he had been shot, he would have told other responding officers that he'd been hit. Digidio is in between the apartment building and law enforcement. That's not a good backdrop for us. Any bullet that misses its target could strike an apartment building through a glass window, an occupied apartment. Once that bullet leaves the chamber, there's no recall. You have to be accountable for where it goes. And for Ryan, his backdrop was a parking lot full of cars and garages. We got him pinned down. He can't go anywhere except to the west. And we're trying to set up a perimeter over on the west side as quick as we can, but it wasn't quick enough. There was a little bit of a gap between a series of garages that I poked my head into, and I saw the suspect running in a westerly direction. Didn't know how I should handle that. If I should continue paralleling him on the side of the garages where I was a little bit covered, or do I go into the parking lot? I chose to go into the parking lot to see what I could see. As soon as I get to the parking lot, he's crossing 34th Street, which is a light corridor. It's a very bright corridor of a north and south street. He gets on the other side of that and disappears into the darkness of the Meadows Golf Course.
106 and 337 are on the edge of the golf course on the left side.
There is no light on the golf course. I mean, it's complete darkness.
All right, fellas. When we cross this corridor, we'll be in plain view.
That night, I don't remember if the stars were shining, but I remember it was dark. And when you're in a lit corridor, it's like having the spotlight on you. Everybody in the darkness can see you, but you can't see beyond that spotlight. That's a very bad situation to be in with somebody like Vincent DeGidio.
We're gonna take cover behind the electrical box. When we get there, you two head north, you two go with me. On my go. Ready? Go.
He's already shot at police officers. So we quickly scattered from that corridor, and the only place really to take cover was there was a large electrical box, about 5 feet by 5 feet, a very big metal cube. And we stuffed about 5 officers behind that.
All right, everybody good? Lights on. Go.
So we enter the golf course, and we try to light it up as best we can, but remember, we're using lights. Now, you know where we're at, and we don't know where he's at. We had heard radio traffic of people seeing him further to the west, towards the condominium association that's on the far southwest corner of that golf course.
He's coming back here by the church. I'm not in uniform. Somebody come up here by the church. There's somebody walking, sweatshirt and light brown pants. That'd be him.
My fear was that he was going to go to the south side of that and enter that condominium and cause a hostage situation. At that point, we have him on 1/3 of the golf course. We decided we're going to go with some firepower.
You don't know what's going to happen until it's happened. You have to make split-second decisions at a moment's notice. We're out there and we're chasing after him, but we don't see him. But he could see us. So we're at a disadvantage, and officers get put in that all the time. He could be standing around the next corner waiting for us, lying in wait for us to come around the corner, and he could take a shot at us at a moment's notice without us knowing.
He started to walk towards the west, and I had a team of 3 officers who were now closing in on the area because the radio traffic had gone out. Everybody knew where he was at, and it was all starting to collapse around Vincent. As we were going further to the west, we see the guy. We're getting closer to this condominium association. We see him standing in the shadows.
Somebody is running around in the backyards here, and they're ducking behind houses when one of your cars goes by. And I can see him right now.
Lives on. What's he wearing, sir?
God, it's dark back here. It's very hard to tell. It's dark clothing is all I can tell you.
I didn't know if he was going to try and force his way into another house, and if we have to go in and rescue or help those other homeowners out. I mean, there's lots of things that could have happened.
I poised on the north side of the building. In case I was involved in a shooting, this was a good spot to be. And if DeGidio came back onto the golf course, we were prepared to use deadly force. He had already tried to kill Ashley Ware and tried to kill deputies.
106 and 337 are on the edge of the golf course on the left side.
He made a decision when he was in that little tiny lawn. He turned towards armed police officers and raised his weapon.
Stop, police!
I heard them identify themselves. I could clearly hear them shout police. And I heard drop it. And simultaneously, shots were being fired.
I heard the volley of shots, and there was silence on the radio. I'm literally just praying that no officers get hit at this point. I heard some officers on the radio that there were no officers down.
No officers yet. Just suspect.
10-4, we have a 600 unit route, code 3.
3221 to Zebra 5. Zebra 5. High shock. Suspect is down. 10-4.
I went around the corner of the building, and that's when we found Vincent DeGidio lying in the lawn. You could tell that something was wrong. He was like an animal that was wounded that couldn't do anything. He was looking at us. He didn't say a word. He couldn't move. There was his weapon, a .22 semi-automatic pistol laying beside him. It's almost like he wanted to be involved in a police shooting. He had raised a handgun at armed police officers. He knew what the outcome would be.
I was taken in an ambulance to the hospital, and from there, the police did show up and they interviewed me again. And it informed me that they had caught him. They had shot him down and he had survived, and that he was currently in surgery in the same hospital as me, on the floor above me.
I did see a tattoo that ran across his chest, like a prison-like tattoo that said "No surrender." To me, that gave some validity to the he's capable of killing, like he said he would.
From birth, he had nothing around him but negativity and crime and drugs and alcohol, and the environment that he grew up in. He didn't ever get any type of education. Prison was Vince's education. Everything that he learned from criminals in these institutions. It was a ticking time bomb.
I thought he was more talk than anything. And after this happened, then I realized that his life had spiraled out of control. In Vincent's case, he grew up in a family life where there was some chemical abuse, and he couldn't comprehend a good family life. And I think that's what caused him to do the things he did as he grew up.
Hey, come on. The night's young.
We're actually called to the parents' home one night. We received a call that his mother was severely intoxicated and wouldn't wake up. When the officers arrived there, they found that his dad and a friend of his dad were walking her around trying to get her to wake up, and didn't even realize she had died. Shortly after that, we got another call to the house, and actually Vincent's sister had come home to check on her dad. And when she got there, she found that he was dead. He still had the needle with him that he had used to shoot up. We'd try to connect with them and say, you don't want to end up like your dad. You don't want to be in that situation all the time, and you need to straighten yourself out and not go down that same path, or you're going to end up just like your father. Some people just don't want to change. Even though they may not be happy or everything might not be right, that's a comfortable type of life for them to lead, and you just can't make them change.
I've always had a good rapport with Vincent DeGidio. When he got out of prison, I don't believe he tried to turn his life around. I think the death of his parents, the loneliness, and the prison life, he came out of prison hardened and destined to either go back or to die. If given a different life, he may have been a different person.
We can explain why the criminal does what he does, and it doesn't mean that it's okay. It just means that we understand why it happened. And we know that early childhood development is critical in creating career criminals.
When I think about Vincent DeGidio, I feel bad for him. I mean, the kid had a rough life growing up.
There was something in his eyes that was void of any empathy. You know, he wasn't what you see on TV for a criminal. He wasn't a big man at all. But he just had a look like he didn't care if he was going to live or die that night.
Police say it all started at around 9 last night in North Fargo when DeGidio forced a woman into her car at gunpoint.
There was no prior acquaintance between the suspect and the victim.
The suspect followed her into the store, pistol whipped her, and then proceeded to rob the two employees at gunpoint.
That's when police say DeGidio ran. When police tracked him down, he opened fire with the handgun.
No officer was hit, but numerous shots were fired by the suspect. Gunshots were fired by police officers at the scene, and he was struck.
Vincent, he had once said that he would be a hero if he got in a shootout with the cops and died that way. He failed at that as well.
One of the rounds entered the body, striking his spine, causing paralysis.
The punishment he wanted was to die, but the punishment he got was that he was paralyzed and sent back to prison.
The entire experience of being kidnapped, held at gunpoint, has changed me. That is something no one should ever have to endure.
After the attack, Ashley withdrew a little bit. She would lay in bed and I think she going through that trauma is just a scary thing. She still would pull herself up and, get herself to work. And, eventually she came out of it. But I think she may even still have nightmares about that happening.
I actually had asked the cops, do you think he had been watching me for a while through the windows? And they said that's definitely a possibility. He could have been watching me, and all he knew was that a girl lived there, and she was an easy target.
I'm sorry, have we met?
Or so he thought. Vincent was charged with kidnapping me, and it became a federal case because he took me over state lines and being in possession of a firearm when he was a felon.
Vincent DeGidio is serving a total of 346 months in prison for his actions, which is just short of 29 years. If Ashley Ware would have made it into that RV, there's a great chance that she would not have made it out of the RV alive. The owner of the RV had told us that he had left it there for the winter to store it, and that he'd completely cleaned it out so there should not be anything in there. And so we searched that RV, and we did find things like in one of the cabinets there was a roll of duct tape and rope. She could have been left in there essentially for months without us finding her and without any knowledge of what happened or where she even was.
It was very important for me to forgive Vincent DeGidio. It's just what you do. It's part of my faith. And you forgive, and you heal, and you move on, and you be positive, and you try to use it for the better.
Everybody in my family feels for her and feels horrible that she had to go through that situation. We're just all glad that she's okay.
Ashley Ware is a warrior. She didn't give up. She's a fighter. She has a strong will. She's a strong personality. A lot of people in her situation have given up or do give up and don't have that mentality of, I'm going to make it through.
I was not surprised because she is strong and she can take care of herself, and I think she's a hero at heart.
The difference between a victim and a hero is perception. Both people have survived, and anybody who survived is a hero. And I think that it's a really powerful way to sort of view whatever trauma, whatever experience has happened, to say, I'm not a victim, I'm a hero, and I kick ass.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Everything's gonna be okay.
As a nurse, Ashley had to deal with countless situations that were very intense emotionally, but she was required to function very strategically and thoughtfully. That is the job description for healthcare professionals, is to be able to handle these intense emotional situations with calm, rational, logical thought. That's why we respect them and trust them.
A couple years later, I met Ashley, and she was the attending nurse to a victim of another assault. And she says, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I looked at her name tag and saw it was Ashley. She was doing what she wanted to do and that she had survived this, and here she's tending to an assault victim. Full circle.
It's important for me to share my story for other women and with other women because they need to know that there are lots of different ways that you can fight back and save yourself or prevent yourself from getting in a worse situation.
Every person's different, and you don't know how you're going to react when you're put into this situation. I would like to think that when people talk about things like this, they'd see that Ashley's been able to escape death, refuse to be a victim. I would hope that they take something away from that. If they're ever in Ashley's position, what would Ashley do?
Fight back, be strong, be calm, don't panic, and pray.